Welcome to another edition of Insurance Questions Podcast, number 128. Can you believe it's 128, Donnie? Whoa. Where is he? Where is he,
He's
Sarah?
a slacker. He's a slacker doing things.
Did you finally kill him?
Yes, I went up to Buffalo just to do that. Well, he's not in Buffalo.
Just so you know, this is not Insurance Questions Podcast. What is it, Sarah? It's Tuesday, August 27th.
Tax Questions Podcast.
Woo! Who doesn't like talking about taxes? It's fantastic.
I know. Well, hopefully I make it fun.
So exciting.
What's interesting is I'm also stepping up my social media game.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to start posting bookkeeping, accounting, tax tips. We're, of course, are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm actually going to do stuff on TikTok. So just for the listeners, join there, subscribe here, send Eddie messages, bug him for questions here if you want me to cover questions. But I'm also going to expand some tax tips, bookkeeping tips, like I said, on our social media realms as well.
Sarah.
Because I think it's most important for everybody to get all information.
More exciting is I added another member to our podcast team.
Oh, yes.
Prickly Paul the Cactus.
Prickly Paul the Cactus. That's a very unique name.
I don't know if you can see this or not. You see that bruise right there?
What did you do?
I got pricked by one of those things. And that's how I got messed up like that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
You know, I've looked at cactuses, but I'm always afraid I'm going to prick myself. So I always make sure if I do get a cactus, which I usually kill them because I don't care about plants.
I did get another one that I have in another part of my house, but he's not as prickly as this guy.
There are some that are really soft you can touch. You don't want to grab them.
And this is good compared to what it looked like. So I don't know what's going on. So how was your weekend, Sarah?
It was good. It was very relaxing. Friday, we got to go to AT&T Stadium, which if anybody doesn't know, it's a big football indoor stadium. My son plays on a Christian homeschool league. And the varsity
plays at the AT&T Stadium, Sarah?
I don't want to say because I'm not a fan. We're just going to skip right over that.
Say it.
Which is funny because I'm a Texan born and raised, but I was a fan until after all the Super Bowl wins, there were news articles coming out that they thought that they weren't going to practice. And my thing is, no matter how good you are, you go to practice.
The two games that the Buffalo Bills lost against them, they cheated. Duh. How else would they win?
Right? Of course. That you're going to say that.
I will tell you, when my one daughter's wedding was here in Frisco a bunch of years ago, we had the limo bus extra after, so a bunch of us went out. And the place we went to, the first thing I see is like Super Bowl signs. I'm like, son of a...
Yes. They do all that. Well, anyways, because of the high school team, the varsity team was playing, he got to go on the field, on the sidelines to cheer them on. They turned the middle schoolers into water boys, so taking them Gatorade.
That's cool, though.
And he got to see the locker room. So he got to go into this restricted area, and he just had a blast. It was great. But we spent the whole day because it's 45 minutes from the house. So it's like, we'll go down there, spend time down there, and just kind of see what's going on. And just full disclosure, the client that I was supposed to meet with now says he'll be here about 10:30-ish.
Well,
so for our listeners,
might be on the show. He might not even know he's going to be on the show now.
Maybe not. So just for the listeners to know, the last few weeks has been very hit or miss scheduling wise between me, Donnie, and Eddie, and it's mainly on my side. I am being horrible at scheduling. But anyways, so we'll get into it. It'll be kind of short, and then by the time Dottie joins, if I need to hop off.
Oh, speak of the devil. The one,
Woo-hoo!
the
Hey,
only. Oh, did you see he changed his names here to the Donnie Lowe?
he is the Donnie Lowe.
And now that
So
we're all here, I can say the questions and comments by Eddie Buffalo, Sassy Sarah, and Donnie Lowe are purely for entertainment purposes.
yes. So just to kind of get into it, like I said, just because I'm on a time restraint,
Yes.
I'm horrible at double, triple booking myself sometimes. My bad. Um, I wanted to talk about the new changes in the tax rates. And the main thing is because it's closer to the end of the year, you need to pay at least 90% of your tax bill before December 31st. So being able to plan and adjust accordingly. Now, let's say, hey, I don't know what my tax bill is going to be until I file. Yes, the IRS will still penalize you because you didn't pay at least 90%, and then charge you interest. Like it's a thing. So if you're unsure, there are different ways that you can calculate it using the 2024 rates, which I suggest if you do not have a tax professional. A lot of tax professional charges additional for that service. With ours, is we included in our tax rate. So we might be a little bit higher than what you're used to, but if you come to us around October and say, "Hey, this is what's going on," um, we'll include that in the service and say, "Hey," and it won't be very in depth. We do have very in depth um, tax planning that we can do, and then of course that's a different service. But we can say, "Hey, this is what you were looking at last year. This is where your differences are. This is what we are going on get estimation based off of our calculations, what you would owe. This is what you want to pay at least before December 31st." So, and then of course, everybody knows the standard deduction is going up. So, if you owed money this year and your income is going to be similar, chances of you getting a refund is possible. But again, it depends on the rates because everything is a gray area with taxes, which is not because it all depends. Everybody's situation is different. There's a lot of things that go into it to figure out what you're going to get.
Where have we
And
heard
if
that
you watch
before, right?
Yes. Well, and if you remember from
It
last
depends.
week, so listeners who are new, go back and listen to the one last week. I went through all the history and why taxes are the way they are, when they started getting complicated. So, just an FYI to look into that. And what's really cool is if you're really interested in diving deeper, because let's say we have some listeners who don't know what they want to do in life and they're getting all this information. They're like, that's really interesting because that's how I got into tax. I was just focusing on accounting, and then I went to a tax seminar and I started geeking out over the tax knowledge of, oh my God, that's going to happen and this is going to affect this. Isn't Sometimes that's how you find the industry you need to be in.
That's true. That's true.
So if you're interested, look at, okay, what was going on that caused those? Was it that there were lobbying going on with the Congress to change those tax laws for certain industries? But anyways, go back and listen. It's awesome. So just an idea, again, with all the different tax deductions and standard deductions and income brackets, it all depends. Are you single? And this could include if you're divorced with no children, so you're single. Are you head of household, meaning you have dependents in the household that you're relying on? Now, there are exceptions for your parents. They can live outside of the household and you can still claim them as a dependent, but there are very strict rules in that. So, again, always talk to a tax professional. You can do married filing jointly, or let's say there are some spouses, even though they're married, they want to file married filing separately. All of these have different tax rates based on income. They all have different deductions for the standard deduction.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you're allowed to deduct is similar with exception of married filing separately. And what that is hopefully you're married filing separately just because you want to keep it separate, but your marriage is going great. We're going to go off that assumption.
You're right.
If your spouse itemizes everything, you have to itemize everything.
Ah.
If your spouse wants to do the standard deduction, you're forced to do the standard deduction. I have some people who are married, have been married for years, and they just file separately. It's nothing like they're going through a divorce. But then I also have those who are going through a divorce. Those are the fun ones. As a tax professional, I do have to say, hey, I'm representing your wife or your husband. You're going through this. I need confirmation that I can represent you both. Or are one of you going to leave the firm? Or it has to be very detailed of, you need to know that I'm representing both of you. I'm going to provide information based on your situations, but I can't talk about the other person and what's going on.
We have to do the same thing in our industry, in the insurance industry.
Oh, Donnie tells everybody whatever they want to know.
Yeah, that's true.
Telephone, telegram, tell Donnie.
Yes. And there is that fine line, and it's better to get it in writing because you have to prove that they both knew the situation. And I unfortunately had this last year, as they came to me as a married couple, and by the time we were going to file, they were going through the divorce process. And it's, hey, you can still have the same client login, or I can separate the logins. You won't see each other's information. And their whole thing is what is it if we file together? What is if we file separately? So I had to make the return and give them an idea of what the taxes look like and let them discuss. And if you can work civilly through it, hey, yeah, let's file jointly and we'll see how things go. Unfortunately, by the time we were almost ready to file, there was a disagreement. They're like, screw this, we're filing separately.
Of course.
And that's what happened. So every tax professional has dealt with someone going through a divorce or right after the divorce happened. And it's one of those, it's a very tricky situation. You want to make sure the clients are covered, you're covered, everyone's in communication. I have this with another client. They're already divorced, but they have businesses together. And there's an external CPA. So I just do the bookkeeping. And it's one of those of, I'll answer questions specifically on what I know and what I'm comfortable with answering. Anything that regards partnership input, they are both copied on it because I refuse. And the other accountant completely understands that. And I'm like, I am not touching that question. You need answers from both the partners. I'm not.
Exactly. You had mentioned, about, and you always mention this, the IRS will charge you penalties plus interest if you file late, if you, all of that. Do you happen to know what the interest rate is that they charge you and what the percentage of penalty is?
It depends on what the amount is. There are stair steps. I can look that up real quick. Like I said, my brain.
In general.
So Donnie, while she's looking that up, what'd you do this weekend, buddy boy?
There was a great jazz festival over the weekend in a little town called Lewiston.
Did you do jazz band dancing?
No jazz band dancing for me. But listened to a lot of great music and ate some good food. It's really a great festival. It's becoming very well known across the country.
So, it's a couple of things. I told you to be careful because a lot of the Niagara students were moving in on Saturday, or was it Sunday, whatever day it was. Yeah. But anyways, my Katie yesterday on Monday started her first day of her last year at Niagara University as a senior.
I can't believe she's a senior already.
I know. And Allison is gone back to Niagara today to finish up her business management degree.
That's awesome.
Woo, 2 Purple Eagles in the Bednar's household. Yes.
That's right. Yeah, and actually there were some
Katie Buffalo.
There were some Purple Eagles at the festival walking around with shirts.
I bet. Yeah.
So like I said, it really just depends. I found something from the IRS website because they don't give specifics.
Of course not.
Easily to find.
And once again,
I should say, because I went to the page that
the IRS.
Right. Well, and I went to the page that said interest it literally is about interest. And they're like, oh, yeah, we charge interest on the full balance until the full balance is paid. I'm like, what's the amount? What's the percentages? Because our system does the calculations. Let's say we have somebody who comes to us after the due date. We can say, hey, this is what the penalty is because you didn't pay the taxes and the interest. And so that they have an idea.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's just not how my brain works, is where I keep it in my
So
head. But for
they're not giving you.
example,
I'm sorry, they're not giving you a specific interest rate. But what if we're not interested in paying the taxes? They don't give us that option. Are you interested? Nah.
Well,
No,
didn't you
not this
say
year.
like episodes ago it was at
you
will?
can definitely
Yeah.
not pay the taxes. I highly encourage you to do so.
Yeah.
And we even have some clients who want to fight the penalties and interest. And my recommendation is, yes, I can send a letter. We can dispute it. We can argue with the IRS. Depending on the amount, sometimes it's just better to pay it
I don't think I'm going
because
to
you're
pay
going to
my
spend more
taxes,
in
Sarah.
fighting it.
I look good
Huh?
in orange. I look good in orange. And I'll get free square meals.
Well,
Get to work out all the
they
time.
don't
Make
go.
new friends.
But do they
They
have
don't
Pop
go to
Tarts?
throwing you straight into jail. They go into deducting it from your paycheck. They go to taking your assets, like your house. They will find other ways to do it
Take your
before jail.
too.
Jail is more of if it's a certain threshold, it's been out for so long,
Al
and you cause
Capone.
issues. Like you're never going to pay. They know you're never going to pay, and you don't have any assets, or there's rules to everything. So it's one of those of it's always best to pay and then argue, because you can escalate it to different places in the IRS, like tax court, etc. Depending on
You
the
do like
amount.
tussle, Sarah. Do you enjoy fighting with the IRS? Be honest.
Since I am not a licensed CPA, I myself am not allowed to fight the IRS. I do have employees who do so, and I gauge of if it's beneficial. If I don't think that the client's going to get the outcome, I'll flat out tell them, hey, you can call them, you can send letters.
Yeah.
We can do it for you, but we charge it, and I don't see it going well. For example, I've had somebody come to me and say, hey, we have like $200 in penalties and interest. And I'm like, hey, we can fight that, but it's going to be more than what you're going to pay the IRS. And chances are you're still going to have to pay it because you filed late.
And I
So
remember
it's one of those, if you still owe it, we can send the letter. But I've also seen some, for example, a former client passed away, and there's a lot of medical issues with the spouse.
Hope they had life insurance done.
I know.
We can definitely sit there and dispute, if they were still clients, dispute the fact that, hey, this person has a lot of medical bills, and they can't pay. Or, hey, this person needs to go on a payment plan. Or, hey, there's 3 different ways that you can argue for, basically it's called an offer and compromise, to try to negate the taxes. And again, just always talk to a tax professional, because it really just depends on your specific scenario, what the amount is owed, what it's for. If it's one of those of, let's say you didn't get all the documents to your tax professional and the IRS caught it, and of course they're updating their system, so it's going great. Hey, I got to drop off. Sorry, my client just got here.
All
All
right.
right. You go, and we'll close out the show.
Okay,
So-
perfect.
All right.
We'll mess up
this,
the
this is a very short show for Sarah. Say that quick 10 times fast. But we're going to end the show like we do always. If you like working with people that are just like us, we're the people to see. www.eviagency.com. You can get a hold of Sarah on the partners page, or you can call our hotline, which is 716-306-2020. For Sassy Sarah that had to leave, your buddy Eddie Buffalo and Donnie Lowe, take care of yourself. All right. See you tomorrow on Viewers Questions. We got some good ones.
I'm looking forward to it.
Take care.
Ciao.